Hello and welcome to the world through a camera lens. My name is Marco van Belleghem and I'm going to show you a presentation on photography. Throughout the presentation you're going to learn about the technical aspects of photography, and I'm going to show you some of the images I've taken around the world to show you how beautiful our planet is we live on. You'll have a good idea of what the whole different aspects of photography are about when we finish the presentation, and I hope you really enjoy it and that you will take something away from the presentation. First of all, we start with a few images from different places around the world. For example, this picture is taken in Santorini, Greece. This picture is taken in Mykonos, Greece, with a beautiful sunset and a beautiful local fisherman going out to get some fish. This is an island in the Caribbean, in the Bahamas, which is taken, from the air. You get a beautiful aerial view of the island. This is the beautiful city of Sydney, Australia, at sunset. This is an iceberg in Greenland, and there's a particular area in Greenland called Prince Christian Sound. And when you sail through that area, you see, icebergs as big as, buildings, very, very large. And this is the ceramic area, part of the Science and Arts Museum in Valencia, Spain. So first of all, we talk about the right equipment and the right attitude. The right equipment is really up to yourself. Would you like to have a camera that you can easily put in your pocket and take with you everywhere? Or would you prefer to, invest in a camera where you have the opportunity to change lenses and, have a little bit more opportunities to increase your photography? Overall, both cameras take excellent pictures. This picture, for example, is taken in Machu Picchu in Peru with a point-and-shoot camera. This picture is taken in Portofino, Italy, with a single reflex camera. But like I said, both cameras, are very, very good quality, and these days digital cameras get, better and better. The resolution, the megapixels of point-and-shoot cameras, is already very high, and the quality that comes out of point-and-shoot cameras is very, very good. Now, if you do decide to go for a single reflex camera, you have an opportunity to change lenses. You have, a whole range of different lenses that is available, and they start from entry-level lenses all the way up to the professional series. The difference is the use of different glass. In an entry-level lens, the glass that's used is of a different quality than in a professional lens. If you, for example, go to Africa on your next holiday and you want to take some close-up shots of the wildlife, I would suggest you invest in the lens on the right-hand side. Just keep in mind that this lens, will set you back several tens of thousands of dollars. These lenses, the professional series, are very expensive, but also you get a very, very good quality lens for that. Another piece of equipment that is very easy to use and very, very good, easy to have when you do photography, is a tripod. A tripod is very easy when you want to take pictures with a long exposure, with a slow shutter speed. If you want to take evening pictures and you are not able to, handhold your camera, then it's easy to invest in a tripod, because then at least you will be able to keep your camera as stable as possible. They come in different sizes, they come in different qualities, they come in aluminum, they come in carbon fiber, which is very light and very sturdy. And of course there's loads of different brands available on the market also. But it's a very, very good investment. With regards to the tripod head, there's different opportunities. You have the tripod head on the right hand side with the handle, which you just, you open the lever and you can turn your camera in any direction. Or you have the tripod head on the left-hand side, which more or less works like a motorcycle handle. You just release the handle and you can just move your camera in any direction as well. Now we're going to talk about the technical aspects of photography, and first of all we're talking about shutter speed control. And I'm going to take my camera just to give you an idea of, what we are talking about, and just to make it easier for you to understand. So when you have your camera, you have on your camera the lens, but if you take off the lens, behind the lens there is the shutter inside the camera. Now when you press the shutter release button, then the shutter will open, and the amount of time that it will open depends on the time that you have set on your shutter speed. We have an option on the camera, it's called shutter priority, and this is a mode that allows you to manually put the shutter speed of your camera. For example, on this camera, the shutter speed is called AV, for aperture value. So I put my dial to AV, TV, time value. I put my dial to TV, time value, and now I can manually put the shutter speed for the camera. Then I've put here two pictures which are taken at exactly the same location. One is taken with a shutter speed of 8 seconds, and the other one is taken with a shutter speed of 250th of a second. You see the difference with the pictures? The picture on the left-hand side with a shutter speed of 8 seconds has, the water is a lot more smoother. It's like milky. It's a bit like ghosty. Whereas the picture on the right-hand side is more or less just exactly the way you see it. And that is because of the shutter speed that you have manually put for your camera. I put underneath there also, for longer exposures, it is better to use a tripod, because you get a slow shutter speed, and when you come to something like 8 seconds, it is impossible for you to handhold your camera. You have to put it on a tripod to be able to have that camera as stable as possible throughout those 8 seconds. Or you can have an exposure time of 30 seconds, or even 5 minutes, or 1 hour. But during that time, you want your camera not to move at all, so you have to put it on something very, very sturdy, like a tripod. The next one we're going to talk about is aperture control. So I'm going to again take my camera to explain this. On the camera, there's a dial, and there's a letter saying AV, and AV stands for aperture value. So I put my dial on aperture value, and now I can manually control the aperture for my camera. I can set the aperture manually on the camera, and the camera itself will set the shutter speed automatically. So there's a little dial on the right-hand side, on your left-hand side also, and you can use that dial to go through the different aperture values. So you can go from a large aperture to small aperture and back. There's also another letter on your dial, and it's called M. It stands for manual. When you put it on manual, you can control the shutter speed as well as the aperture all by yourself. Nothing is done by the camera. It is all done by you manually. So when we talk about aperture, this is a semi-automatic mode on your camera that allows you to put the aperture manually by yourself, and then the shutter speed will be done by the camera. I've put two pictures here of this watch, and one is taken with a small aperture of f32, and the other one is taken with a large aperture of f2.8. Aperture stands for opening. When we talk about a small aperture, it means that your shutter, when you press the shutter release, will only be a small opening. So the shutter will only have a small opening, and through that small opening, the light will take a lot longer to come through. So the shutter speed will be reduced as smaller that your aperture is. Also, a small aperture means a small opening, but does mean a wider depth of field. And this is very clearly seen in the picture. You can see that the picture with the small aperture is much clearer than the picture with the large aperture. The pictures with large aperture means a large opening, so your shutter opens large, and then you will have a narrow depth of field. So large opening also means that the light coming through your camera will also be reduced, so you will have a faster shutter speed. The other side, the picture with the large aperture, you can see that only the little clock on the bottom right hand side is in focus, and the rest of the picture is out of focus. And that's the result of using a large aperture. One thing to remember when we talk about apertures: small aperture, we talk about a large f number. Large apertures, we talk about a small f number. Then we talk about white balance. So one of the magic tools of digital photography, white balance, allows the photographer to control the filtering of the light with a button set on the camera. So to show you on my camera, we have here on my right hand side 3 buttons on top of the camera, and one of them says WB. So when I press WB, then I get all these different options. I get automatic white balance, I get daylight, I get shade, cloudy, tungsten light, white fluorescent light, flash, and custom. So now when I want to take pictures, I personally prefer not to put it on automatic white balance, because automatic white balance means that the light reading is done in the camera. So the camera does all the light reading for you, and it doesn't actually give you an accurate situation of what the actual day is. Let's say, for example, you go out tomorrow and it's a beautiful sunny day, beautiful blue sky, just a few clouds in the sky, and you're out to take pictures. I would put my setting on daylight, because then you will get the best light reading that you get for, or that you need for that situation. If tomorrow is a cloudy day, it's an overcast day, then I would put my setting on cloudy, and so on and so on. I've put here 2 pictures just to give you an idea. But the nice thing of digital photography these days is that we work with a memory card. You can take as many pictures as you like. You can experiment. You can go through all the different settings of white balance and just experiment and see which setting that you like most and which picture that you prefer. And then when you've taken lots of different pictures, you only keep the ones that you like, and the rest you can throw away. It's not anymore like it used to be when we took pictures with film and we had to wait until they're developed, and more or less you spend a lot more money. These days, digital photography has become very inexpensive. This picture shows you exactly the same location. One is taken with tungsten light and the other one is taken with cloudy. Tungsten light, you can see, turns out a lot more blue. There's like a blue glow over the picture, and cloudy just shows you exactly the way it is. We're talking about ISO. So ISO is a good way to deal with the lesser amounts of light available, and it increases the speed and sensitivity of the chip to light the higher you put the ISO. Also, the higher the ISO, the more light sensitive to the chip, which means that the higher the ISO, the more noisier, the more grainier your picture will turn out. You can compare it with a radio. The louder you put your radio, the more noisier and the more unclear the sound will become. And this is exactly the same with photography. The higher you put the ISO, the more noisier your picture will become, and the less clear it will also be. I have put 2 pictures here. One was taken in Dubai with an ISO of 1600. The other one was taken in Croatia, in Dubrovnik, with an ISO of 100. So during the time we were in Dubai, I wanted to take a picture of the building in front that you see here, but I did not have my tripod with me. So the only opportunity that I have to take the picture was to increase the ISO. So I increased it to 1600. My shutter speed became approximately 100 of a second, and I was able to handhold the camera. Picture on the right hand side, ISO 100, beautiful sunny day, in the late morning. Beautiful sunny day, just some clouds and blue skies. No need for a tripod. You can easily take that picture handheld, by yourself. You don't need your tripod. Using filters. So we have a lot of different filters on the market. I put underneath here, remember your direction to the sun. And this applies to what we call a circular polarizer filter. But I'm going to explain more about the different kind of filters that we have available. First of all, we have a skylight or UV filter. A skylight or UV filter is just a clear filter that you more or less can keep on your lens at all times. It's just there for protection. It doesn't have any impact or effect on the quality of your pictures, unless, of course, you invest in professional lenses and then put a very low quality filter on that. That is, not the point. If you invest in very good lenses, then of course you also need to invest in very good filters. But for the rest, it's just a very good investment to protect your lens. You can, drop your lens. Let's say you bought a camera and you bought a lens, $500. You drop your lens. That's $500. That more or less is broken and that you're going to have to replace. If you would put a filter on there, and you could probably pick up a pretty good filter for, let's say, $50. Now you drop your camera, more or less, if you're lucky, only your filter will break, which will only be $50, 1/10 of the investment of the lens. So it does definitely make sense to invest in filters. I have filters on all my different lenses, and I've actually tested this, and I was lucky to only have the filter break and not the lens. So it does work. Talking about circular polarizer filter. So this diminishes or reduces the glare and the haze for diminishing reflections from water, glass, and other non-metallic surfaces. It's very useful for travel and landscape photography, and the angle of the effectiveness of the polarizer filter is governed by the angle between the filter and the direction to the sun. But the most effective way is at the right angle to the sun. So let me explain this a little bit more in detail with the use of my camera. On this camera, I have a polarizer filter, a circular polarizer filter. And circular means that it consists of two parts. So the first part is connected to the camera. The second part is connected to the first part of the filter, and you can rotate it. You can turn it around, like I'm doing. So let's, for example, say we have our landscape right in front of me. So for the circular polarizer filter to be mostly effective, I like to have the sun in a 90-degree angle behind me. So now I look through my viewfinder, I see my landscape, and I turn my polarizer filter. I turn it until I get the desired effect. Again, with digital photography, it's all about experimenting. It's all about how you like it best. So you can take different pictures. You can take like 10 different pictures, and just you rotate your filter to get the effect that you like. And then afterwards, when you look at your pictures on your computer, then you can keep the ones that you like, and you can more or less throw away the ones that you don't like. But that's the effect that you get from a polarizer filter. A polarizer filter is also very useful. For example, let's say you go to the rainforest in Australia, Costa Rica, and you have this beautiful waterfall coming down, with all the rocks. Now, when you set up your tripod there, you have your polarizer filter on there, and you set up your polarizer filter correctly, you will see that you will take a lot of the glare out of the rocks of the waterfall, and you'll get a very nice and balanced picture. The next one we're going to talk about is the neutral density filter. And the neutral density filter consists of, when you look at your filter, half of the filter is clear, and the other half has a little bit of a more darker glow to it. And you can buy them in different strength. They come 0.3, 0.6, 0.9. They actually go all the way to up to 10. And the difference in those settings is more or less, the darker, the higher the number, the darker your neutral density filter will be. So what's the use of a neutral density filter? It is very useful for landscape because often the sky is lighter than the land. So what you do is, like, you take your neutral density filter, the darker part you put over your sky, and the light or clear part you put over the land. Now, when you take your picture, you will see that it turned out in a much more balanced image, because often a sky is more overexposed than the land. So in order to be able to compensate that, a good way to do that is to use a neutral density filter. It will darken the background that is significantly lighter than the foreground. Then we also have warming, cooling, and softening filters. They usually come in various colors, and they can make colors come alive and add live color to a portrait. For me personally, I don't use these filters because these days, with the editing programs that are available on the market, we have different opportunities to to more or less adjust the coloring, adjust the saturation, and adjust some of the other settings that makes it unnecessary for us to use these filters. Talking about editing your photos, I've only put a couple of programs here, but there's many more programs that are available on the market. Photoshop is a very powerful program. It's been around for years, used by a lot of professionals. Aperture is a photo editing program, which is also very useful, works very well. But it's, again, there's so many different programs on the market. It's really up to yourself which program that, fits you best. We talk about raw or not raw. So what does it mean? What is raw? What is a raw file, and why is it important? So a raw file is the unprocessed information that is stored by your camera, and depending on your on-camera settings, you know, the raw file can either be stored in camera as a JPEG file, or it can be stored as a raw file, or it can be stored as a combination, JPEG plus RAW. Do you need to shoot all your pictures in RAW? Certainly not. You know, the quality of JPEG files is very high, and if you are a casual photographer and you just like to go out and take pictures and just, you know, like not really do much else with it than show your family and your friends, then I suggest you stay with JPEG. If you're more of an advanced photographer and you like to, you know, take it to the next level and turn into the semi-professional or the professional field, then I would certainly suggest that you shoot your pictures in RAW, because RAW gives you all the unprocessed information of that particular picture you took. For example, with my camera, if I take a picture in the RAW format, the picture will be approximately 20 megabytes. Now, if I take that exactly same picture as a JPEG format, that picture will be about 10 megabytes. So the extra 10 megabytes of information that you get by shooting in a RAW file is the unprocessed information that you more or less keep of that picture. It is you know, easier also to process a RAW file because it gives you a lot more different opportunities to edit your pictures. These days, all the well-known editing programs that are available on the market, they also have a RAW processing program installed in it. So when you install your pictures into your computer and you open up one of your editing programs, then you know right away your RAW processing program will show up and you will be able to do different editing, and then afterwards you can either save your picture as a JPEG file or as a TIFF file or whatever format you would like to use. Talking about composition a little bit more, you know, you take a good look at your surroundings before taking the picture. So composition is a thoughtful and meaningful way in, you know, in the placement of carefully chosen elements in a scene. So, for example, this picture is taken in St. Petersburg. This is the church on spilled blood. And instead of just taking the general picture where you have the whole church with the river in front of it, I decided to turn my picture, you know, upwards into the air and take a picture of only the actual domes and the sky. It was a beautiful sunny day. I had my circular polarizer filter on the camera, and I took a beautiful picture, you know, which really, you know, shows the color and the vibrancy of this building in St. Petersburg. This picture was taken sailing away from Stockholm in Sweden, and the whole day was a very, very bad day. It was overcast, raining, very cloudy, and I saw at the end of the day that the sun was coming from underneath the clouds. So I decided, you know, get outside, take a picture of this, you know, this beautiful sunset, more or less, which, you know, gives a very, very dramatic view of that particular time and moment. The rule of thirds, I'm sure some of you have heard about the rule of thirds. So you divide your viewfinder into equal thirds, and where the intersecting points meet, that is where you should put your point of visual interest to make a more nicely balanced image. So you have two vertical lines and two horizontal lines, and where these intersect with each other, that's the point where you should put your item of visual interest. For example, this picture is taken in Portofino in Italy, and you can see that when you look at this picture, your eye is drawn into the white boat and then towards the buildings behind it. And you can see that the white boat is very close to the left bottom side of the intersecting point, which, you know, makes it a more balanced image. We have light. We have two different kinds of light. We have front light. We shoot straightly directly into the sun for beautiful sunset, and I will show you a little bit later some other beautiful sunsets. This is taken in Dubai, in the garden of a beautiful resort, and yeah, you can see it's just a fantastic sunset. We also have backlight. This is backlight where the sun is behind you, and a very good example of using a circular polarizer filter to get the effect of the ocean, the clouds, and as well the beautiful blue sky. This picture was taken in the Maldives, which are little islands in the Indian Ocean, close to India. Talking about exposure, we talked about it also at the beginning, about shutter speed, long exposure. This picture is taken in San Marco Square in Venice and has an exposure time of 30 seconds. So you can see that for 30 seconds I keep my shutter open. After the 30 seconds the shutter closes, and this is the end result. You can see there's a few people walking over San Marco Square. It's extremely difficult to take a picture with no people in it. But you can see also that during those 30 seconds that your shutter is open, the people keep on moving. They keep on going from one side to the other side. And you can actually see that movement of the people also in the picture. And this is another picture, 180th of a second. Very easy to handhold your camera to take a beautiful shot. You have an aperture of f11 and you see the beautiful sky, the beautiful area. This shot was taken in Oman, which is a country in the Middle East. Photographing the natural world. This is an example of using what I call a macro lens, a close-up lens. This lizard, for example, it was only a few inches big when I took it, and I was just sitting there on the beach together with this little lizard for about half an hour taking shots until I got the desired result. These are two dolphins sailing along the Napali coast on the island of Kauai in Hawaii. And this picture is interesting when you look at it. You can see that the horse has the goat on top of the horse, and the goat is eating the leaves from the tree. And I call this picture teamwork because you can see that animals are very, very smart. And this is an excellent example of how they work well together to get the desired result of what they want. The goat wants to eat the leaves from the tree. He couldn't get that by himself. So he communicated with the horse in one way or another and got on top of the horse, stood on his back legs and was able to eat the leaves from the tree. I talked a little bit about it before. Macro photography, close-up photography is a very interesting part of photography. And you don't need anything. You don't need to go out for it. You can do it at your home. You can do it with any item that you want. You can do it with your chinaware. You can do it with your silverware. You can do it with, like I did, with a watch. This is the movement of a watch at the back. And it shows you, very close-up a picture of a part of the movement of that particular watch, which gives a very, very different dimension to the movement when you realize how small a watch is, and then to see a picture like that of that part of the movement so so close up, that is pretty impressive. Orchids, I like orchids. I think they're beautiful flowers. They're actually not flowers; they're plants. They're flowers that grow on plants. But they're just very, very beautiful. They come in all different colors. So I, took some close-up shots of orchid flowers. HDR, high dynamic range. I personally am not in favor of using HDR because I like my pictures to be natural. I do admit, I change saturation, I change the coloring, the lighting a little bit because I like vibrant and, very strong pictures and colorful pictures. But HDR is, a way to, a little bit manipulate your picture. So what you do is there's actually, with the new cameras that come on the market, there's actually a function on your camera that has the HDR option. So it takes 3 pictures with 3 different exposures and then combines it into one picture. And then you get an end result similar to this. This picture is taken in Kauai, one of the islands of Hawaii. And this is called the Kalalau Lookout. And when you go to Kauai, I would definitely suggest you go to this lookout because it is absolutely spectacular. I just want to show you a few pictures because I have been fortunate enough to have some of my images also, published. I do some semi-professional work, and it just, it's very, very satisfying. It makes you very proud to see your pictures actually in print. So this was published a few years ago for a calendar in the United States, for a yacht calendar. And they actually, for this calendar, they choose 5 of my images with regards to yacht photography. And they also put this picture of mine of a yacht in Portofino, Italy, on the front cover of the calendar. And then to realize that, you know, this picture then was on the calendar all around America in all the different yachting areas and all the different bookstores. It's very, makes you very proud to see that actual in print. This picture was taken in a resort in the Maldives, and then also was published in a magazine over a 2-page spread. This picture was in a magazine called Islands magazine in the United States, and it's a picture, an aerial view of Bora Bora in French Polynesia. And Island magazines also, conducted a the competition with regards to which picture, which wallpaper was the best of all the wallpapers that they had received in their in their time, more or less, that the magazine has been available. And this picture of the aerial of Bora Bora actually came second place. Unfortunately, not first place, but it did make second place. So of course that was also very, very satisfying. This picture of the the harbor of Monte Carlo, Monaco, was published in a magazine in Brazil. This was in a magazine called Condé Nast Traveler in the United Kingdom, and there was actually a person who contacted the magazine and spoke about how they enjoyed my website. So of course that's very satisfying. Condé Nast Traveler is one of the most renowned travel magazines in the world these days. This slide of 3 pictures you will see now was published in a magazine called Ocean Magazine in Australia, and it's a lifestyle travel magazine, and it showed a little story about my photography, as well as a little bio about myself. And this picture was taken in Oman in the Middle East. This picture was taken in Alaska of Glacier Bay, and this picture is an aerial view of the Napali coast on the Hawaiian island of Kauai. So now I just want to show you, with photography these days, it is, not just about publishing it in a magazine or publishing it on the internet. There's a lot more we can do. And how satisfying isn't it to have your own images, or to have, images of a very good photographer to be put in your own house. We had some of the images done that I shot myself, and then also published them, or we also put them in the house. So you can see a few different ones. This is the picture that I showed you before, the aerial shot of the Napali coast on the Hawaiian island Kauai. And when you realize this picture is a 30 by 40 inch picture, and then you put a frame around it and a beautiful wooden frame, this really has a tremendous impact on the surroundings of your living room. There's a lot of paintings and other artworks that are available to put on your wall, but a lot of people don't realize how beautiful, images, how beautiful photography is to put on your wall. You can also, see images as artwork. Another picture of a beautiful sunset in Port Douglas, Australia. And then to come near the end of our presentation, I'm going to show you just a few more images from around the world, just to give you an idea of how beautiful our planet is, and to really get you in the mood to start traveling, seeing the world, and exploring, taking your camera and take beautiful images all over the world. This picture is taken in Amalfi, the Amalfi coast of Italy, which is a very, very beautiful coastline below Naples, between Sorrento and Salerno. This picture is taken of a cruise ship in Oslo, Norway, right, in the center, more or less, of Oslo. This is Peterhof. This is the old summer house of Alexander the Great in St. Petersburg. A beautiful shot of a little red boat in Portofino, Italy. This is the beautiful Nyhavn in Copenhagen, Denmark. Great place to hang out, great restaurants and bars. You can spend your afternoon there, you can spend your evening. It's just a very, very nice area to spend the day. This shot is taken in Iceland, in the Thingvellir National Park. And the Thingvellir National Park is famous for the movement of the tectonic plate. You can see this on the left-hand side of the picture where the level is a lot higher to where the point is where I'm standing, and that is because of the shift of the tectonic plates, which happened thousands and thousands of years ago. A beautiful picture of a cruise ship in Greenland with an iceberg, and these kind of shots are extremely rare and extremely difficult to take. Also, I was on a little sports boat, able to take this picture, but there's very, very rare opportunities to take pictures in a surrounding like that. This picture, I'm sure many of you know. You probably have been to New York. You've probably seen the Statue of Liberty. This is at sunset. This is the city of Quebec, Quebec City in Canada. Very beautiful area, taken also around sunset. And around sunset, you always have what we call the golden hour. You have an hour of, which is fantastic for photography, because you will get this blue glow coming, from the moment that the sun goes down. You get this blue glow, and it lasts, let's say between half an hour to an hour. And if you take your pictures at the right time, you really get that beautiful blue glow coming through your pictures. There's a beautiful shot of a chalet in the Swiss Alps. This is on the island of Santorini, the village of Ia, which is a beautiful place for photography. I told you before I was going to show you a few more sunsets. And sunsets, we have lots of different opportunities. Again, you don't need to be, out and about, in all different places around the world. I'm sure, the area that you live, you also have beautiful sunsets or sunrises. But this is taken, with, just a little bit of different colors in it. You can see the red, the yellow, the blue, the white. You really see, the different colors of this sunset in the picture. And a beautiful picture of the actual sun just before it starts going below the horizon. And this picture is taken in Palermo, Sicily. I'm sure many of you have seen this building. Either you've been here or you would like to go there. This is the Pisa Tower in Italy, in the village of Pisa. Las Vegas. Whatever happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas, they say. Well, I took my picture from Las Vegas with me, but you can see it's a beautiful, beautiful view of the strip of Las Vegas, and it's a great place to go and see the diversity of the different hotels, the whole atmosphere, the vibrant life. It's more or less a 24-hour operation, and anybody can enjoy themselves at any time of the day. This is a picture of the Maldives. Like I said before, small islands in the Indian Ocean. Capri is a little island in Italy, just near the Amalfi Coast and near the city of Naples. This is a picture I took of a commercial airline on a flight from Australia flying over Indonesia. And you can see the mountains in the bottom, and then you can see the clouds. And the reason I put this picture also in the presentation is because it really, the clouds show us almost that, they've been painted in there, that they're not real. But this is just like I took the picture, the way it was. And I didn't, change more or less anything. I just changed the saturation a little bit, but for the rest, the picture is exactly as you see it. There's a beautiful picture of Greenland, of the glacier area around Greenland. You see the beautiful glacier coming down the mountain, and that just provides for extremely nice vistas. Then, coming near the end, the power of photography. A picture tells 1,000 words, telling the story, changing the world. These days when something happens around the world, the photographers, cameramen, they are right away at the spot, and they're giving us all the information, via television, via our mobile devices, via the computer. We see and we can, experience everything that happens more or less instantly. I put a nice message here. Mother Nature is very talented. She makes these stunning scenes all day, every day, all over the world. It is only sometimes we stop and, look long enough to appreciate them. But they're always there. So enjoy the moment. And that means we're coming near the end of, my presentation. I leave you with my quotes. I simply capture the scenes the earth provides, because initially that's what we do. The scenes are out there for us. It is just up to us to take the pictures at the right time to get the right result. I put my website there, www.marcovanbel.com. So, if you liked the presentation, if you like to see more beautiful images from around the world, please have a look on my website. And, for the rest, I hope that you enjoyed this presentation. And, I hope that you get out there, that you go and explore the world, and that you, shoot some beautiful images. Thank you for looking. Thank you.